Hey guys, so I wanted to do a little video to kind of help you with the task 2 of 7.02. I'm going to do 2 of the problems from this task to kind of give you examples of how it works and explain some things for you. So hopefully this will help you out in your task. And if you've noticed, I have updated a link that I want you to use instead because I was getting a lot of different types of answers. Normally what this would have you do on these graphs is actually draw arrows showing which way the curve shifts, and it's always going to shift to the right. But that's kind of hard to do with Google Docs, so that's why I'm giving you blanks to fill in. So for every question, you'll fill in graph 1, it's either going to be demand or supply curve shifts right, and that should say right. So I'm going to have to go back and fix all these. And then the same thing for graph 2. You're going to have to give your reason, and then you're going to have to tell whether the US dollar appreciates or depreciates. So while I'm thinking about it, I'll go ahead and fix all of these. And if these are not fixed on the link that you have, please fix them. Because I don't want you to get confused on my part and think that a graph actually shifts to the left. Because it's not the case. It even says that at the top of your worksheet. The most important thing you really probably need to know about this is that an increase in a supply of a type of currency is going to depreciate its value. So basically, if consumers, for example, let's use euros and US, and we'll kind of use the example in this lesson. It talks about says assume that price level in Europe is increasing and making European goods appear more expensive relative to the United States. European buyers will want to buy the relatively cheaper goods in the United States. So Europeans will provide euros to the exchange market, and this increase in supply will depreciate the euro. And at the same time, the Europeans will demand US dollars. This will cause for demand for US currency to shift to the right, which appreciates the value of the US dollar. So I'm going to kind of type this out for you to see. An increase in supply of a type of currency depreciates its value. An increase in demand of a type of currency appreciates its value. So just think about demand. You're wanting more, so you appreciate it more, so it appreciates its value. And supply, you're kind of giving it back up. Okay, so let's kind of look at the couple of these. We're going to do number 1, then we're going to do number 3. Okay, number 1, the number of tourists to the U.S. increases dramatically. Okay, so your foreign money, hold on, let's look right here. Okay. Sorry for the pause. I just really wanted to make sure I had this right and that I could explain this easily to you guys. Okay, so the number of tourists to the U.S. increases dramatically. Okay, so more tourists are going to be giving up their foreign money to the U.S. Okay, so what's going to happen is in graph 1, your demand curve is going to shift right because there's a higher demand for U.S. money. And then in the second graph, the supply curve is going to shift to the right. Because if you look over here, people were turning in more euros because the demand for U.S. money was growing. So that's why the demand curve shift. And then over here, the supply curve shift. Okay, and the reason for that is tourists are going to trade their foreign money to get U.S. money because there's more of them in the U.S. So you can just write tourists are going to trade their foreign money for U.S. dollars. Okay, so there's now an increase in demand for US dollars. So we go back to our PowerPoint, an increase in demand for a type of currency appreciates its value. So the US dollar appreciates. Okay, let's go down to number 3. Okay, so number 3, the Federal Reserve of the United States lowers interest rates, which are now relatively lower than foreign countries. And this one's a little bit tricky. But what's actually going to happen here is in the first graph, the supply curve is going to shift to the right. And in the second, the demand curve is going to shift to the right. And the reason for that is because businesses are going to want those higher interest rates. So they're going to start looking to foreign countries because foreign countries have a higher interest rate. So they're going to supply US dollars to the exchange market, and they're going to demand the foreign money. So what you can put for your reason is that businesses are going to want the higher interest rate in foreign countries or something along those lines. And so what happens? Okay, now there's an increase in supply. The supply curve is shifted to the right. We're supplying more US dollars now, so the US dollar is going to depreciate. Okay, so basically, if it's anything like this, this is really tricky. It really is. So I hope that kind of helped and maybe explain some things a little bit. Still continue to look over this. Do the triad activities. All those different things. And yeah, like the jump shot. Hopefully that's basically, if you kind of look at these questions, like number 2, you should be able to figure out because it's basically the opposite of number 3. Because now the United States has the higher interest rates. And 4, 5, and 6, you should be able to figure out whichever place is going to have the cheaper goods or less expensive prices. That's what people are going to want to buy from. Okay, like where people are going. If there's people in the U.S., foreigners come in the U.S., like in that first question, then they're going to want more U.S. dollars. But if U.S. citizens are traveling to foreign countries, then they're going to need more foreign dollars, obviously. So do your best with this. Just email me if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to explain it further.